What's a big mistake you made or a big regret you have that taught you a valuable lesson in life?
Oof. I would never get married when I was so young, because what the hell was my hurry? Don't do that.
I don't have any children. I did regret it, of course.
Stop looking for validation and you'll be happy.
Fear is our enemy. If it scares you, it's good for you. If it hurts you, it's good for you.
Is that a regret?
Oh, yes. Yes. Wow.
In this video, we are putting together the greatest advice, the biggest regrets, and the best stories we have acquired over 2025. You will hear advice from celebrities to 100-plus-year-olds to many random older strangers on the streets around the world. And what you will find is life advice, life lessons, and guidance that you can never find in school or really anywhere else. So without further ado, let's jump into it. If you could go back in time and talk to your 25-year-old self, so 1945, you could talk to yourself, knowing what you know today, what advice would you give to her?
I would never get married when I was so young, because what the hell was my hurry? I was 19. I had a baby when I was 20. What was my hurry? I would have waited, because there are things I wanted to do, which I never did.
Oh, wow. I wish I could go back to my 25-year-old self, and it would be to not be afraid, because I think I've been farther along if I had not been afraid of what people think. I didn't read going back again to the Bible. I was afraid of what people would think if they saw me doing this or doing that. When I should have read it for myself, it would have made my life much, much better. I would have seen things differently. I've been more forgiving. Earlier, I would have loved differently.
I also would have cared less about people's opinions, because I always try to make sure I fit in the frame. So it's like everybody likes me, but I should have not done that, because it's like it sets you back. I had so many ideas and like friends, oh, no, you shouldn't do that because, it wouldn't fit our thinking or our societal norms.
I think enjoy being alone. Like, was I not popular? Maybe I'm not pretty. That's why I have to be home alone. Now I think that particular period gave you lots of power and then make who I am.
Usually your gut instinct is the right one, so you don't have to wait around and think about it. Oh man, am I making the right decision? Usually your gut instinct is the right one, and you learn that over time.
I still have it. Let go of the scarcity mentality. Embrace abundance and take really big risk. Whatever choice you can make, even if you think was the wrong choice, I think people are more scared of thinking that it's wrong. And then you can always change back. You go to India, after 15 days, you realize you don't like it there. Guess what? You can hop on a plane and go somewhere else, You don't like your job, you could quit. You could,
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, people think it's not possible, but it is.
That you're not stuck in your situation. Just because you've made a certain choice doesn't mean you have to stick to that choice. Just because you've done something wrong doesn't mean you have to wallow and stir in that. That you can change your mind about anything you want, anytime you want.
If fear is the enemy, you got to get over your fear. I live in fear. That's what OCD is. I'm medicated to get rid of the fear. The reason to not do something should never be because of fear. Fear stops. Fear is a wall. And fear is good. If it scares you, it's good for you. If it hurts you, it's good for you. If fear stops you, you're just not doing it, and that's on you. You have to figure out how to face your fear, how to get over fear. Fear is our enemy. Fear is the enemy of everyone.
In my own family, I lost a son at 30 from suicide. And I tell myself, if I only knew what I know today, he wouldn't have been in that. If I knew what I know today, it's useless. It's a futile exercise. One learns every second of the day about one's body, about other people's bodies, and so on. The number of suicides among people is going up exponentially. Our mind is beginning to alter in ways we don't know about, and I have therefore become somewhat pessimistic in my. I don't have. I just wish you well.
If you could go back in time to your 25-year-old self, knowing everything you know today about life, and you could give him one piece of advice, what would you say to him?
Work. Nothing is completely easy. But if you have something in mind, try it. But don't go and spend the rest of your life, I should have tried it. But it's easy for me. I was elected 12 times MP and never lost an election. I won 3 majority government. I was 30 years in the cabinet, 3 years the leader of the opposition. So I have a pretty good CV, so I cannot complain.
Try not to sweat the small stuff, and there's that expression, everything's small stuff, appreciate life. You want to set your goals. If you don't have goals, you're not going to get very far in life because you won't have any direction.
I would have just done all the stuff that I really enjoyed. But that was tough. I was raised in a strict way. I wanted to be a ski bum when I was young. I wasn't allowed to. So that's, I think, why I did all these crazy things later in my life. What you're not allowed to do as a kid, you do later on. Look why you see old guys on motorbikes when they're in their 50s or 60s. They probably didn't have the money or weren't allowed when they were young.
Take a deep breath and sit back and reevaluate everything that you're doing and how you're getting there and what you're doing and try and figure out if there's a better way to do it.
How do you know if you're doing the right thing?
It has to feel right.
Don't pursue a lot of things that you can see down the road aren't going to make you happy. It's okay to be alone, and don't just try to be with someone to fill some gap in your life, because that's a long commitment if you go down that road. Make sure you pick the right people. I'd still marry the same gal I married. I don't know that I'd do life that much differently. I had a really happy life, and still, my wife passed away 8 years ago. But, I made a few mistakes, but I had a good time. I'd do it all again, yeah.
What was the big failure that defined your life at the time?
Defending myself and my point of view. Always wanting to be right. I was debating all these militant atheists and scientists who thought I was crazy, and I thought they were crazy, and it was all crazy anyway. Nobody knows what is the ultimate truth. We all have opinions. Yeah. So it took me a while to learn that. I don't regret anything that I did as a younger self. Every experience, good or bad, is an opportunity for self-growth and self-realization.
So you appreciate the failures, I'm assuming.
I enjoyed them. In retrospect, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be where I am.
When you think back on your life, what's a big mistake that you made or a big regret that you had at the time that taught you a very valuable lesson?
My haste to get married. Yeah, that would probably be it. So my marriage didn't work out, and I was in a very good place professionally, gave everything up because I felt that the clock was ticking. And it backfired, really.
I would have waited before getting married. I think I got married really before I should have. It took me quite a long time to realize that.
The mistake of getting married without really knowing the person for a long time.
How long did you know him for?
It was a year by the time we got married. Can't rush it. You need to see a person in every season of life. There's this thing I talk about. It's called the man journey. If a guy isn't where he wants to be in life, he's not going to be ready to take you with him on that journey.
What is a big lesson that you learned from that divorce?
Do not wait for someone to validate your feelings. You don't have to wait for them to see it or to tell you, oh, yes, you're right. That experience is what you're thinking. If you feel a certain way, trust your intuition. And I learned that I had a really high tolerance for poor behavior. Now I have a high standard of what good behavior is.
When I got out of the gambling world, that world is the ultimate world of regret. If I only played my hand this way, if I only did this, if I said this to my boss or whatever. But I think deep down, if you develop a faith, like just a real faith that like everything is supposed to be unfolding exactly as it is, and that the universe is always conspiring for you, even though it doesn't feel that way. We all have our lessons in life that we have to learn from, and you can't avoid that.
What is a big mistake you made or a big regret you have that taught you a valuable lesson in your life?
Well, that is a loaded question. One that I would like to answer, but I'm not going to.
I'm going to guess the relationship one. We hear that a lot, yeah.
I don't have any regrets, so... it's a journey. You don't have hindsight. All you can do is make the best decision you can with the information you have at that moment. That's all you can do.
Sounds quite dull, actually, but it was taking the wrong job off, the one that had more status than the one actually I really enjoyed, that was way more adventurous when I was young. that then I did what I was expected to do, the fancy office, all that, rather than the really funky job that I really wanted to do. And that was selling satellite dishes in India.
I think the biggest mistake I made was my second marriage. What I didn't get for a long time was that he was also a serious narcissist. Life was good as long as it worked for him. And when my money got tight occasionally or any of those kinds of things, it was, traumatic.
Can you define the word love?
Wanting to share most things or everything with some other one person.
Were kids ever on the table for you? Is that a regret?
Yeah, it is. I think when I was much younger, for sure, I was like, oh yeah, one day. And I always put it off. And then when I met my wife now, we were both older and it was off the table. I feel like all these things happen for a reason. So I don't question them.
One thing I used to do, which I stopped, but I did it, I used to smoke. And now I tell the kids, don't do that, because it's going to do something with your lungs. Because I have a little problem with my lungs. And once it does something with your lungs, you're finished. Your lungs will never clear up, never. But how do you tell these smart aleck kids that walking, look, I'm so grown up, because they're stupid. That's what it is. But of course, when you're young, you're not that smart.
So you're married?
I was married. My wife died.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. How long were you married for?
45 years. No, 55. Sorry.
55. What was the secret to a relationship lasting 55 years? Most people can't even find someone for a few months right now.
Problem is, people don't have trust to each other and respect to each other. You have to respect other person as much or even more than what respect you ask from other person. And talk, whatever disagreement you have, sit down and talk.
Does it feel like we're missing that?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because you guys don't have time to sit down, because you think you will lose something sitting down and talk to your partner.
Yeah, we're too rushed, too busy.
Yeah.
I've been very lucky. I've been married 67 years. We got married very young. I was 22, she was 21, and we had all our kids by the time we were 30. Been a very happy marriage, and she has looked after me.
She's still around?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And she's in great shape. She looked after me when I was early 20s. I weighed like 240 pounds. And she got me eating correctly and exercising. And I think I'm in good shape physically. And I give a lot of the credit to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What has been one of the secrets, if you're thinking about it, to the relationship being this amazing at this point?
Compromise. No question. It's... very few things in life are worth fighting over. I wanted to go downtown. She wanted Westmount Square. So we went to Westmount Square, and I'm very happy.
Compromise.
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life. It's true.
Yeah, it's not worth fighting over.
I was married for 50 years.
And yourself?
Okay. Yes.
Through a few.
I'm
kind of like Henry VIII, but I've only had 3.
Okay. That's right.
So I was divorced after 24 years of marriage. That was very tough. And then I had a relationship for about 21 years, and that my husband died and had Alzheimer's. So then my present husband...
I hope that's it.
I think my last husband also lost his wife. We have been together now for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, very lucky. We have this expression that we both have a lot of baggage. When we met when we were 72 years old. So you're going to have a lot of baggage. So you give each other a generous baggage allowance.
At all ages? Or just...
Yes,
yeah.
Of course, at all ages. It's not easy to share your life with a person. You're never going to have the exact same response to things, recognizing that your point of view may not be the other person's point of view.
Yeah.
A lot of tolerance.
Right.
I had married my girlfriend, the first girlfriend I had, and she was my girlfriend 5 years before I married her, and I was only 23 when I married her, and she was 21. And she died after 63 years of marriage and 68 years of relation. She was a great lady, very well liked in Canada, very respected. She spoke 4 languages. She had a great political judgment, very quiet, telling me the truth in a very nice way. And, and I would not have become prime minister without her.
A lot of people have a hard time finding love or being with the right person. What was it about your wife that you knew she was the right person?
When I was a kid, I was a terrible kid, overexcited all the time. And my mother used to say there will be a black sheep in the family and Jean will be the black sheep. Until I met this girl, a next door girl somewhat. And my mother realized that she had the calming influence on me. So she did everything, for me to meet her. And she had decided that she was a woman for me. And she was right. So we grew up together, basically. And she was very patient. Everybody would say that we were making a very good couple. And she was exceptional lady, and when she passed away, it was the big national news in Canada because she was respected by everybody.
So you were married before?
I was married before.
Were you married?
I had one husband, and that was it.
How long did that last?
How long did it last? until he died. It lasted. I was married. I was 19, and then he died. I remember when he died. I didn't know he was going to die, because he used to pass out. And then they called me from the hospital. Your husband is in the hospital. I come over to see him. And the doctor said, sit down, I want to talk to you. He sat down and he's looking at me. He says to me, I have sad news for you. Your husband died. He had a massive heart attack. One heart attack. Boom, out.
How old was he?
80.
Yeah, so almost 60 years together.
Too many years even to remember.
What do you think contributed to you guys spending almost 60 years together? I'm assuming this was a happy marriage.
Yeah, it was a good marriage.
Most marriages fail. Most don't last that long. Yours lasted quite a long time.
Oh, yeah.
What was the secret to
that?
He
was a good guy. What was the secret? No secret. Well, we used to fight. We get to talk to each other. That's all. We'd sleep in the same bed. He would turn his ass to me. I would turn my ass to him. And that was the end. There was no secret.
Why do you think most marriages fail then?
They don't give it a chance. That's why. Divorces are very prevalent, It's easy. It's easy to get married. It's easy to get a divorce. Yeah. It's not like years ago. Years ago, if you had a child, you don't get a divorce when you have a child. So the babies are the ones that keep marriages many times together years ago.
Do you think people don't try hard enough or they give up too easily?
They don't give it a chance because the women today make money. Money is the root of all evil. And because the women today make money, they don't give the marriage many times a chance. Women today are more independent than the men are, which is a good thing. Good thing.
You said you've been married 4 times, married right now, but 3 didn't work out. If you're thinking back on those experiences, why did those not work out?
In the beginning, I think because I was like, if it's not my way, it's the highway. I think living in New York, you feel like you're living in a candy store. That is the
biggest problem with the dating world right now.
It is. It is. But I got to tell you, all these things you think matter, they don't. I can tell you this for sure. The things that people, especially men, think are so important, they are not.
Example?
Stop looking for this beautiful woman who you think is like the end-all, be-all, and get to know the person as a person. See what you have in common. Find out about, the Bible talks about being equally yoked. Super important. Who's going to be your friend for a long time? That's what's important. It's not about the physical, like many people think, like I used to think back in the day. It's not about that at all. It's really about having a real connection. Even when you don't believe the same thing, still having a great connection, being able to talk about anything and everything. Yeah. Those things are important.
And you've been with your wife right now 8 years?
8 years, but dated 2 years before that. It's the longest relationship in my life.
Yeah, so this is, okay, so the longest relationship in your life. Can you define the word love for me?
Oh, yes. Wow. Loving the person, whether they love you back or not. It's very easy to love somebody when they're loving you and everything's perfect and wonderful. But when love is tested, if they hurt your feelings or go against what you think is your core, will you stop loving that person? And if you do, is that really love? Love is forgiving somebody over and over and over again. Love is letting the person do the things that they enjoy, even though you may not. Love is evolving all the time, and love is never giving up.
I think you are better than Morgan Freeman. I think you.
I don't know about that.
You would be a fantastic narrator.
I don't know about all that. I just know, the one thing of being through so many relationships in my life and chasing the wrong thing, I finally figured out that you have to let go of everything that you think that you want. And for me, it was asking God to bring the person in my life that I need to be with and have faith. Faith's a funny thing because it's the one thing that people have a hard time with. If you can't see something physically, you don't believe it. But faith is that, believing what you can't see and truly trusting.
Can you define the word love?
Extreme respect and caring. No more than that. The physical side dies early. It's not...
How early?
Oh, it varies.
So good.
Love to me is a commitment. It isn't just something that happens to you.
Yeah.
Like pow, love. It's something you work at. It's something that you have to nourish.
Yeah.
And you grow into a love relationship. It's not a 30-second.
Like it doesn't happen at first sight.
Yeah.
Maybe lust happens at first sight, but love is something that takes a while to really nourish.
Well, my advice to him was to marry me.
How long has that been? How long have you been married for?
On the loss.
Over 6 years.
I know it.
Can you define the word love?
Love is some kind of metaphysical state that I have no idea what it is. It's compromise. You have to learn how to compromise. You want it to work and get 2 bedrooms instead of 1.
That's after you're over 40 or 50 and your spouse snores.
You have to respect each other. You have to define the role of everybody. She was the boss at home. So if she wanted to have a color on the wall that I didn't like, I would shut up. And that's the way to do that. She was in charge of the house, and if the kids were not happy, I was always on her side as a matter of policy. Mom was always right. She had to raise the kids virtually alone. I was always on the road. So she was extremely good on that. If she had a problem with the kids, she would not even talk to me about it, to not disturb me.
Define the word love? I'll define the word respect. Because love goes 2 ways. You could hate someone that you could love. It's easy. It's two emotions. That's why divorce is, the divorce. Overlook is the word. Overlook the faults, which is not easy to do, especially when a woman makes money. And she says, I don't have to put up with this.
Yeah.
I can make more money than he makes and get a divorce.
Just one sec. If you like the advice you hear on our channel, you're going to love this. Every single week, we take the 5 biggest regrets, the best life lessons, the things you really, really, really need to know. We put it into a free newsletter that we send out every single week to you. If you're interested, you can join by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code on the screen. It's totally free, and every single week, you'll get amazing life advice like you see on our channel straight to your inbox.
A lot of people go through life wishing that someone would have taught them a certain lesson sooner or that they would have learned something sooner. For you, what is a truth you have learned about life that you wish more people understood?
It comes down to the people that you surround your life in. It comes down to family. It comes down to friends. Everything else is just gravy or icing on the cake. Just choose wisely in the people you spend your time with. That's, I think, the path to true happiness.
Oh, I think that God is real. We all have our little hang-ups and stuff, but I think them are the biggest things. It's not easy. God never said it would be. You're going to have trouble, you're going to have turmoil, but the sooner they find it, the better their life's going to be. It's not going to be roses, but God is always going to be with you.
I wish that we had learned how to keep things in perspective, instead of getting so wound up about every little damn thing that comes along. It gets in the way of actually enjoying your life. But I never was somebody who looked down on people who took a different path or who believed different things. And if you look around the world, or specifically the country now, everybody's looking down on somebody, and getting satisfaction out of it. I think that's very dangerous.
Don't believe everything that everybody tells you, because 9 out of 10 times they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Nobody cares about you. I mean, we all think, oh, what are they going to say? But maybe they say something for like an instant, and then they're on to somebody else. Nobody really cares about you and what you do with your life except for you. Maybe your family might say something here and there, but ultimately, they're thinking about themselves.
Right.
Most people are. So live your life for you. That's all that matters.
Did you ever care a lot? Did you put emphasis on that?
Yeah.
Is this like a recent...
Too much. Yeah, absolutely.
When did that change?
Losing my family members made me realize that you have to live for you and what you believe, and not be scared of what anybody thinks. Everybody wants to be part of a group and be accepted, but you have to live your life true to you and what you believe is important. And living in Japan, I'm living that life for me, not for my family, not for my friends. This is for me and for my soul. It's the best thing at this point in my life.
Yeah.
I love living here.
What is a truth about life that you've learned that you wish more people understood?
There's no single truth. It's just a perspectives. So they all true.
Everyone is free to make whatever decision they want, and you can move through the fear. You can still be brave even if you're scared. I think that's what bravery is doing things afraid.
Why do people feel stuck then?
I think it goes back to the expectations of what we think people want from us. We might be waiting for permission from other people when really the power is in your hands, to take that first step.
That it's not the end of the world. A guy breaks up with you, it's not the end of the world. You lose a job, it's not the end of the world. You can always pick yourself back up, figure out what happened, and then move forward.
There's positivity in everything you do. You just have to make sure that you see it and be aware of your goal while you're still doing it.
Well, one makes mistakes and has regrets for 100 years. So that's a lesson I learned. There isn't one.
Right.
You go through life, it's an accident. You go through a life full of accidents, and if accidentally you live longer than the others, that's great. If you're interested in life, for many people, living longer than others is a real pain, because it is a pain. It's an agony to go on living. But I love living.
The Jewish people believe that when you're born, there's a book, and your whole life is written in the book. How long you're going to live, what kind of life you're going to live. In other words, your whole life is mapped out for you. That's why people could be on a sidewalk. A car will go on a sidewalk and kill them. They're on a sidewalk, and it happens. So it really doesn't depend on you. It depends on the book. I'm going back to the book. You have nothing to do with it. People die in their sleep. Some people are in and out of hospitals. It has nothing to do with you, how long you're going to live.
Your life is decided by life. So you have the destiny, and the assemble of your qualities will determine, or your defect, what kind of life you have. So you do your best all the time. You have something to do, you try to do it. If you do something, try to do it well. Have pride in the quality of your work. Sometimes you might not succeed. Sometimes it's terribly unfair. I've seen guys who should have had a much better life than they had. They were unlucky, and it's sad. But on the other hand, you have to be there when the luck passes. Don't be in the bar, when the block pass. Be on the job, and you will have a chance to do well.
The truth about life is that joy is the only measure of success. You can have everything you want, money, health, good relationships, but if you don't have joy, you waste your life.
I'm assuming you know a lot of people who've been very successful but are also very unhappy.
Most of the people that I know who are very successful are also miserable.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
Well, you have to redefine success as joy, as the progressive realization of worthy goals, as the ability to love and have compassion, and be connected with your soul, which is the creative center of everything that happens.
That sounds amazing. And I think being happy means being successful. But what about when you've got a battle, making money, maybe starting a family, maybe the evolution? How do I define success as joy while also growing my life?
Well, first of all, look at every adversity as an opportunity for some greater benefit. Reframe your adversities as challenges. Reframe your challenges as opportunities. Secondly, don't be obsessed with money. The money will come if you pursue what is true to yourself. Money is a byproduct. It's not an end goal in itself. Have meaning and purpose in your life and try and make other people happy. That's the key.
What is success? Yeah. What do you think success is?
Well, I think everyone has their own version of it.
That's the point. So the problem is, what I find with people is they'll watch something like this and say, I want to be like that, or I want to do that, or I want to achieve that. That's a problem. That's the problem. The problem is that you've got to float your own boat. Success is contentment. Success is the ability to wake up each and every day and look forward to what you're going to do and enjoy what you're going to do. And I look forward to I'm enjoying this right now. This is success. Will this get me anything? Based on just a couple of minutes I've spent with you? No. But, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If you just enjoy what you're doing, you will be surprised by where you get. And I think life is short and you need moments of contentment when you're not thinking about what you don't have, when you're not thinking about what you don't want, when you're not thinking about what some other person you're seeing or hearing has and you're saying, I want that. Yeah. I think you need to, my grandmother used to always tell me, if you're not healthy, you're not wealthy. Success is just getting up and in the moment, not being aware of a pain, not being aware of what you have, this moment that you're watching right now is success.
I have a question here from our journal, and it reads, what is a goal that you have set for yourself when you were younger that you never achieved?
I want to become a stage performer. I never achieved that. I think, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. How come you never achieved that? What happened?
I think parents, right? My dad particularly was thinking, being a stage performer, you have very short professional time where if you study a skill, you can use until later time.
So instead of being a stage performer, you did what?
Well, I did accounting.
Do you regret that looking back?
I always think that will always be part of me. Mm-hmm. That's an aspiration that will stay with me forever. You never know. You might see me dancing one day on the stage.
We would love to.
Getting married and having children. And honestly, I don't know if that was a goal because that was my goal or because that was someone else's goal for me. I don't know if that's ever going to happen for me, and I'm okay with that.
I'd say a lot of people that I speak to have goals that they haven't achieved. Why do you think that is?
I guess me, as an immigrant, you always kept in the back of your mind, the parents. It's like, make sure you don't embarrass me. Make sure you don't do this stuff. So it's like trying to fit in the society based on their way of growing up, of what they've seen from their parents.
Achieving a goal is taking one step after another. And it can seem like an insurmountable feat. But if you just take that one step forward and then just keep taking one step every day towards that goal, you can get there. You do have to define what that goal is and then know to go in that direction. But when it comes to making a big change in your life, if you're considering it, that means you probably should have already made the change.
I think people are just too hard on themselves. People are expecting that they should pass the bar exam or they they should get this job, or by this time they should have this. And I think it's so much about the process. You know, goals they're great to work towards, and they're important to have. You can use them as a measuring stick and a way to create self-discipline and behavior patterns that are helpful, like your book. If you use guides like that, I think that is very helpful.
You know, I think I've achieved most of what I wanted. You know, I graduated from college, got a good job, married, 2 great kids, you know, got a nice house, nice wife. I took the path of least resistance and had good pay. If you want to take chances, you do it when you're young. If there's a point in time where it's not going to work out, you may have to get a regular job. You got to realize your limitations at some point in life. So
I took a break from graduate school after I finished my master's while I was working on my dissertation because my older brother-in-law asked me if I was interested in helping him. And it was a great experience, and I was with that company for 10 years. But as I look back on it, it's like turning left, and once you've done that, you can't really go back. But I'm not sure it was the right decision.
I speak to a lot of people, and they say similar things, that they have goals they didn't achieve. Why do you think most people don't achieve the goals they want to achieve?
It's not only that sometimes they're the wrong goals, it's just that there's too damn many of them. Pick 1 or 2.
There's a lot of people who would be watching this, and they are young, unfulfilled in their careers, doing things because it's socially acceptable. What's your advice to someone who's feeling unfulfilled and wants to kind of break free of that mold?
Try to trust your instincts and follow your heart. It's easy to say, but it's not so easy to do. I followed less my heart when I was young and more what I was expected to do, go to business school, perform, do this and that. Later in life, I think I got to trust my own gut feel more, and I dared to make certain choices, and it wasn't always about money but more quality of life and actually experiencing stuff, because even if you do a corporate career, in order to succeed you need to actually enjoy it, but finding something that you do enjoy, that could be difficult. It's not so easy when you're young to know. If you have a passion for something, I guess you need to try out a few things to figure out. Be open, dare to talk to different people, travel, don't cling to old stuff. Be prepared to take risks, and many people don't dare to take risks. That's why they stay in the corporate life.
You'll give it your best. Only if you have a passion for it, you can fulfill your greatest potential. And a lot of kids get into things just for money, that they could care less about what they're doing as long as they're making money. They're not happy campers. Their life will be very mediocre.
What's the result of that, of me being money-driven?
Boredom will kill you. You don't want to be boring. You got a whole life ahead of you. You want to be exciting, rich. You don't want to be boring. In order to avoid boredom, you got to take risks. You got to be willing to fail and get up again. There's no such a thing as a bad choice. You always learn something. It's painful to fail. That's why they put erasers on pencils. That life is just one mistake after another. They continue to happen.
God, there's so many goals that have not been achieved that I thought I wanted. Making $1 million in a year, I haven't hit that goal. That was a goal because you hear it so much, but I'm not sure if that was really my goal. For me, like, money's not a driving force for me. It's not the end-all, be-all. So I'm fine with that goal. For me, it's more enjoying my life and having experiences.
Why do most people not achieve their goals?
I think people are scared. A lot of people may be scared or fearful. Not maybe scared. They're fearful of going through the pain it will take to achieve their goal. And many goals, it will take some pain. It won't be easy. I've done 4 books now. None of them were easy. None of them were easy.
Right. Yeah. I think everything that you wanted that was meaningful to you was probably difficult to achieve.
Absolutely. Moving here was not easy, but I'm thankful I'm here.
When you were growing up, what was your biggest dream?
I wanted to be a singer. I always thought I had a voice because I used to walk around the house singing. But of course, nothing came of it.
What did you end up doing in life?
Get married and had a baby right away. I got married, I was 19. I was 20, I had a baby.
Do you regret not having gone for that? I mean, a lot of people have these similar dreams.
I have no regrets.
They don't go for it.
It's done, it's over with, it's finished, Could have, would have, should have, it's over.
What about someone who's not 105? who might be saying, I want to be a singer, but now I'm working at a bank, or I want to be this, but I'm not working here. Maybe they're 55, 45.
When you're 55, well, then already you still got your whole life ahead of you.
Yeah.
So in case you don't like what you're doing, try to do something that you like more. Change. When you're young enough to change. When you get old, you're too old to change. But when you're younger, you could change.
How do you build the courage to do that? Because that's scary.
Well, it's all up here. It's how much you want it. If you want it enough, go for it. Because if you don't do it when you're young, you're not going to do it when you're old.
Yeah. And then you'll have regrets.
You have a dream, you want to stick to it. Give it a shot.
Over the last few years, we have spoken to some of the most disciplined people on the planet, asking them about what their secrets for living a more structured, organized, and amazing life is. And what we have done is distilled all of their best information, their best secrets, and their best strategies into our very new product, the Everyday Planner. The Everyday Planner is a daily planner that helps you get organized in life, but organized in a way that allows you to focus on what is most important to you. A lot of us go to bed every single day asking ourselves if we have been productive or not. And what we find is that we got too caught up in all of the small, meaningless tasks instead of focusing on what really matters. This planner helps you change that by developing a set of non-negotiable tasks that you will be able to track every single week and every single day. This lasts for 3 months at a time to help you become more organized, more disciplined, and to beat procrastination. We made a very limited set of these planners, so if you want to get more organized by the start of 2026, highly recommend grabbing a copy by clicking the link in the description below, and it will also come with a ton of free gifts and bonuses this week only. What did you do differently than everyone else that led you to be worthy and become the prime minister?
I don't know. I did. You have to work. Working in our family, it's a pleasure. And success is a goal. It's what happened to me and happened to my brothers. They all done quite well.
Do you think most people do the opposite? People get it the wrong way?
For a lot of people, working is a burden. For me, I never had a problem to get up to go to work. I always found the interest in what I was doing, but I was lucky. I always had interesting jobs. Apparently, I was the longest serving minister in Canada. In fact, I never lost an election. And 3-majority government, it was not achieved very often. In fact, I'm the only one who managed to have 3-majority government and never lost. And I had promised my wife to quit before I was 70 years old. And I quit. I was 69, 11 months and 1 day.
You kept your word.
Yes, of course.
You said working is a pleasure for you, and you said a lot of people treat work as a burden. Why does that tend to happen? Why do most people treat work like a burden?
Well, probably a lot of people don't have jobs that they love. For me, it was exciting. It was always new challenge. And when you're in politics, you have to perform. And if you don't perform, they talk about it in the newspaper, on TV, and so on. So it's very challenging. A lot of people go to their work at 9 o'clock and come back home at 5 o'clock, and there's nothing very exciting happening. So they are happy to leave at 5 o'clock or 4:30 to be home, where they have fun with sports and family and so on.
What's your advice to somebody who does not like what they do and would like to love what they do?
First, you have to ask yourself, what is it that I love? And then try to build your life around that. Take the time to know yourself. Not what you think your parents want you to do, not what you think your spouse or your boyfriend or your family is telling you to do. It's like what brings you joy, and develop that relationship with yourself.
I always wanted to work for myself. The biggest pressure, which I didn't take personally, was my family was very concerned about me. But I kind of knew that in my heart and in my gut, I had to do this. Probably similar to how you knew you had to start what you started. And whether it failed or not, I knew I needed to learn that to go down that path. What I learned in starting my life over at 40 is it is very humbling and it's very challenging. I think if you just show up for life one day at a time and you're willing to take risk, opportunities always present themselves. We're so focused on the outcome, thinking that that's going to be the thing internally is going to make us okay. And when I was traveling the world, in my experience, the people that materially looked like they had the least seemed to be the happiest and the most content. And in our society can be a different way of thinking here.
Ask yourself, what am I good at? What if I had all the money in the world and all the time in the world? How would I sing my song, not worrying who listens or what they think? And how would it help the world? People confuse self-esteem with self-worth. Self-esteem has nothing to do with what people think of you. Self-image is what worries about what people think of you. So when you get to true self-esteem, then you're independent of the good and bad opinions of others. You feel beneath no one, and you become fearless. And that's a very independent state to be in.
Is that all through inner stillness and meditation practices, or what would you say were the practices that you did or that you continue to do to get there?
It was mostly through reflective inquiry. Who am I? And what do I really want? And what is my purpose in life? You don't need the answers. You just need to live the questions, which is what I do. And then life moves you to the answers, either through a situation, circumstance, event, relationship. But when you get there, you realize that that's not the final answer. The answer is never-ending horizon. And at that time, you also realize that the point of arrival is always now.
What do you think differentiated and differentiates kind of you over your career to have allowed you to get to this place?
I think just really loving your craft and not having a goal of fame or money, just loving the craft. If you do that, I think you'll have a long career. If you're just chasing the superficial parts, I think that will fade. You gotta love it. You gotta love it when things are great and when they're slow, because there's ebbs and flows to business. And if you're only gonna be there for the good times, you're not gonna have a long career.
People say no, too much, and they think too much. No is N-O, which is the first two letters of the word nothing. Nothing comes from no. Yes. Worst case scenario is that you have a bad experience and you have a lesson, you have an education on not to do that again. I say yes to everything.
Why do you think people are too afraid to say yes to most things?
Because they think. I don't think thinking is good. I think we have really good instincts. Instinctually, we kind of know what we want to do and what we should do or what we'd like to do, and we should do it. If somebody comes to you with an idea, like if somebody came to me and said, Howie, why don't you go on stage at Yuck Yucks in Toronto and go up a couple of nights and then move to LA and marry your high school sweetheart, and you'll raise your children. Maybe you can try comedy. Now, think about that. What are the chances? I have no connections. There's no reason to do that. I had a good job. I was already making money. I could support my family. So when you think about it, there's always a million reasons not to do something. You can, even if there aren't, you can make some up of not to do something. But if in the moment you think, I want to do this, even if it has nothing to do with a career, just in your life, just do it. Because I'm telling you, it's somebody at this side of life, at 70 years old, too many people my age say shoulda, coulda, woulda. And shoulda, coulda, woulda is the worst fuel, is the worst thing to stand on.
When I think of the world now, and I think of complaints that younger people make, I think a lot of them is, I need to make money, right? Like things are expensive. How can I balance the need to make money while also balancing the desire to have a career I love?
It's funny, if you're thinking about just surviving, that part is not so hard. But people they're not talking about surviving. They're talking about having all this stuff. For me, that's 61, about to turn 62, especially living in Japan. I don't value stuff the way I used to. When you're young, you do. You want the cars, you want all this stuff. You want to live what you may think is a great life. Yeah, whatever that looks like. But it's really more just like enjoying your life and what you do and finding out early what's really important to you, not what's important to everybody else.
Why do a lot of people feel lost in life?
I think because we're trying to live up to expectations. So I definitely felt lost for a while. And I put too much value on getting approval from men in general. And when you're seeking approval and you are trying to make other people happy or bend to fit into whatever shape you think they want you to be, you become this sort of diluted version of self. Like I got hired once, like hire the hot one. Not because I was smart, not because I had a degree.
You heard that?
Yes.
Wow.
I overheard it from the hallway.
Ah, really?
And it sucks. Yeah. And then you know, as like a early 20s, something, trying to get into, build my career, you're like, oh, I mean, I guess this is my chance. I'll just, take my opportunity. But like now at 40, I'm like, I'm smarter than most of you, and I really don't care what you think.
If I'm watching this and I'm maybe working a job I'm not happy with, I'm maybe not in the right relationship or not the right relationship status, what would you say are maybe 3 steps that that person could take to go from where they are now to where they want to be?
First thing, like your journal book, deciding what you really love in your life. Not just like. We all like a lot of different stuff. But define what you love. Spend time just writing those things down. And then find out how to make those things come to life in your life. The word love is overused in many ways. But when you think about what you really love, that's only a few things. Now, leaving the job may not be easy. But nothing good in life comes easy.
Like I told you, I'm 25, so a quarter of
That's a wonderful age.
quarter of your age. A lot of people who are mid-20s, early 30s feel it's too late in life. What do you say to that when you hear that?
I said that's very sad. Enjoy your life and don't walk around with a chip on your shoulder. There are plenty of people who have reason to be upset. I'm not overlooking that. But try to cure the problem and be happy. Listen to some good music, or paint, or have a hobby on the side, because that was such a relief for us to have the music.
So if I'm listening to you and I'm 25 and I think it's too late, is it too late?
Are you kidding?
What if I'm 40 and I'm thinking it's too late?
It's not too late at 40. It's never too late. Unless you're absolutely bedridden. As long as your 2 feet walk and your body is willing, you can go sit by the ocean and recuperate.
What is one thing that when you were younger, you put a lot of importance on, and as you got older, you realized wasn't actually that important?
Almost everything. Things aren't very important at all. Clothes, cars, houses. What you thought was important once was, you realize it wasn't important at all. Your end goal is to be happy. That's all you need. We did well. Successful life in my eyes.
Can you define the word success?
Success is having very few misgivings.
I wish I had started my saving and my investing venture at a younger age than I did. And I wish I had paid closer attention to exercise and health at a younger age. I was always a weekend warrior, so didn't go to the gym regularly, but I do now.
Making a lot of money is something that is real important. When I was younger, I also had a family to support. It made sense, but now everyone's older and everyone's independent, and you can't take it with you. So just really appreciating life and trying to live every day to the fullest is my goal right now.
I think when you're a single parent and you're supporting your child, that's a hard question to answer, because you're basically living paycheck to paycheck just to make sure that she survives and I survive.
There were some things that were bad that happened to me, and I lived with that and tried to see the sunny side, because I don't like being angry or frightened or afraid or any of those things. I tried to associate with people who had a certain amount of happiness in their life, because everybody has some little things that bother them. My mother's favorite song was, "If I can help somebody, then my living will not have been in vain." And I live pretty much by that. I'm sure I've made mistakes and learned from them, but I'd rather be happy. I like happy people, or people who are at ease with their life and who've contributed something.
People who watch these videos come from a lot of places in the world. Most of them don't understand the concept of what you've been through and what your family has been through. What is the racism that people like yourself have faced? And maybe you specifically.
Some men went to Africa and stole the people. You can't get clearer than that. Those people, they were more young than older.
because they wanted them to be able to be healthy and work and not be paid. We were in slavery. It was a very sad time, an unforgettable time, but we lived through it and moved on. But a lot of people had lost what little bit they had, you know. When you're alone at night and you think of the horror of that, and the same people who stole them committed horrible crimes against them, raping the women, and I don't want, that gets me upset. But we pulled through some of it, but I'll never forget the cruelty that was involved in slavery. Nobody should ever go there.
Is there an instance in your life where you felt racism and that really sticks with you to this day?
I had to leave Chicago, the place I was born, and all of our properties and everything, all of that was taken by this city of Chicago.
What life lesson did that teach you?
Well, I still say a lot of people in this world have had a hard time. So I brush my hard time off because I want to be happy. I want to be with happy people and hardworking people and people who accomplish something. I want the people of the world, every race, to be proud of who they are, not who their neighbor is, or anyone with a fairer complexion.
So I was telling about wins, right? And most people here have probably seen Wins' video. A big topic that I asked him about was being black in Japan. I would love to hear your perspective.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, I feel, it's strange to say this, but I feel more at home here than I do back in my own country. I feel much safer here than I do in my own country. It's not easy to work here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm self-employed, so that helps, but I know other friends who have a hard time getting work besides being a teacher or being in tech. Even as a photographer, I probably make more money being back in the States. Well, I know I would, but I live longer here.
You were obviously fighting in World War II.
That's right.
What was the experience like of being in the war?
Not good.
You were captured because you became a
I was
prisoner of war?
captured on Christmas Day in 1941. I was in Hong Kong then, but I was the British Army. They surrendered Hong Kong to the Japanese, and I became a prisoner. But I've been back to Hong Kong a couple of times just to see where, and nobody remembers where it was. And all those men died there. Thousands of men died, you know, from starvation and very, very diseases that they normally wouldn't get.
Have you made peace with it?
I regard soldiers as soldiers, and the Japanese soldiers were brave men too. They died in their millions.
Yeah,
but they were still men. They're still young men, like as I was. You know, they had all the future before them. They thought, and it was taken away from them.
I mean, you spent 4 years as a prisoner of war, but you fought in the war. What is a lesson that taught you about life?
Oh, it's all part of life. There are some things I can't do, like emotionally. There are gaps in my emotion. I can't have the deep emotions. When I came out, I was a young man of 25 or so. I went in at 18, you know. 4 years of those was a prisoner, but I came out emotionally different from others. I couldn't. I'd never been able to express emotions in the way that young men and young women do. When you're walking around for 4 years with the threat of a bayonet being stuck in your back if you don't do something, you tend to walk around cringed and not let any emotion. If you show anger, then you're for it. If you show anything else, you'll be for it. And one teaches oneself not to show emotion of any kind, and that is something I regret, because I never was able to show what women need to have, you know, just couldn't do it, and that hurt them, and in retrospect, it hurt me because I felt so
And my brother's in the army. My mother was so afraid that they would die. If you want to be depressed and if you want to cry, go to the vet's hospital. One of my sister-in-laws was a vendor, so she took me to the vet's hospital. Wounded soldiers without legs, without arms. Where they lay like this, and they wait for someone to come to see them. They were healthy before they went into the army. You had legs, you had arms. If you can't do anything for your country, they put you in a hospital. We fought for the country when you're strong. But what happens when you're not? Then what happens? They forget about you?
Yeah, it's very sad.
It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good at all.
When war's in, that's such a blessing. And you're grateful because young men and women too were just dying for somebody else's reason. I hope we don't have another World War. I've seen a few of them, and it's not good. And people who sit up and think we'll go to war about this or that, work it out, talk it out, do something, but don't go to war. And now they've got buttons, I understand, that they can push and cause a bomb to go off in somebody else's country. That's terrible.
Do you think the world was safer back then than it is today? The world? Do you think it was
safer
safer?
than it is today? No. Today the kids have guns. When did you ever hear a kid having a gun or a knife? Never. You have it today. It's a different world. Is it a better world? I don't know. It's a tougher world. It is. It's tougher. You could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You're finished.
Mm-hmm. It was not like that before.
No.
What's a big event that changed the outlook of your life?
My dad had to retire from work when I was 10. So that changed my outlook on life. Like I just realized, don't take anything for granted. Health isn't even guaranteed. So, you really have to grow up pretty fast and kind of change your perspective on things. And, he was maybe 40. So I'm 37. So that's in 3 years, and had 3 kids. So that's kind of that really puts things in perspective. Like in 3 years, imagine if I had to retire and then still provide for a family of 3. Really just take advantage of every moment and, seize every opportunity that you have.
I think everybody's thinking that, or taking for granted that you're going to wake up tomorrow.
Right.
And that's not true. We know that life can change in an instant, just not taking life for granted and taking every day and being thankful for everything you have in the moment. My father passed from Alzheimer's, my mother from cancer, my sister from cancer. So I watched that process. And with my father, he almost forgot how to swallow, which sounds weird, right? If you can't drink, you can't drink water, you think about those things. So every day now, I wake up and I pray and thank God, I thank the Creator, and I thank Him for the first glass of water that I drank. I hold it up, I thank God for that glass of water. I drink that water and then I go to the gym. That's my day to start every single day now.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of all time is a Stoic quote. It reads, "Easy life, hard choices. Hard life, easy choices." What is a hard choice you made that has led you to be where you are today?
So one of the hardest choices I made was walking away from the gambling world. So I was 40 when I did that. Another hard choice I made, which really wasn't hard, but at the time in my 20s, I was using a lot of drugs and alcohol. Finally surrendering and letting go of that in my mid-20s, that was very challenging. It wasn't hard. It was more difficult because of the unknown once of letting go of that.
The version of you today must have been very different from the version of you in the hospital. I mean, I was reading Total Meditation, and the way you described your life, you drinking, smoking, stressed in the hospital, that's very similar to how a lot of people live right now. It seems very different from how you live today. Can you walk me through that time? And was there a breaking point when you're like, I think I need to change, this is too much?
Yeah, I'd wanted to fit in. So, those days as residents and doctors, we would advertise cigarettes in medical journals. Mm-hmm. Lucky Strike is better than Marlboro, because you get it without a filter. The pivotal moment was when I put a pacemaker in a heart patient and put him on an intubator and put him in the ICU and walked out of the hospital to smoke a cigarette. That was a moment of insight, and said, threw my cigarette away, gave up alcohol. Wow.
In that one moment.
In that one moment. So my co-workers were upset because I was no longer their drinking buddy. And so I lost a lot of friends. But, I didn't care.
What do you think makes a great life, in your opinion?
What makes a meaningful life is to have good relationships with all kinds of people, be able to talk to people from all kinds of generations. You notice I haven't said anything about children because I don't have any children.
Was that your choice?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you regret that?
No.
Did you ever regret it?
I did regret it, of course. I did feel that it's something that I should perhaps have done, but I wasn't cut out for it.
If you're looking at your friends who are mainly around your age, would you say most of them are happy?
I think so. I think more or less. Depends. Some people maybe don't like what they're doing as a job, but they have a family that brings them a lot of joy. Some people maybe don't have a family, but they're super stoked at their job, or they don't like their job, but it pays them so they can go on vacations and take trips. So, I think you figure out what is most important. You sort of justify it as you get older.
How would you recommend somebody navigates life in order to be happy and enjoy what they're doing?
Have a sense of humor to start with. Because the things that don't happen that you hope would happen are laughable. People, even in the prisoner of war, we managed to keep I saw a man of 6 feet dying of dysentery, and they could smile still. What would they smile about? Everybody is supposed to have some kind of finding themselves. You have to be interested, vitally interested in the world and what it's about.
I would say most people are not interested. They're driven by money, or they're driven by external factors.
Yeah.
Think of the big picture. You're 26, I'm 78. In cosmic time, that's not even a flicker of an instant. You'll be dead. In a few years, I'll probably be dead before you. So in the context of death, nothing is important except love, compassion, joy, empathy. Think of death as an opportunity to reinvent yourself. And when you think of death happening every moment, then you reinvent yourself automatically every moment. So Deepak yesterday is dead. Deepak this morning is dead. Deepak 5 minutes ago doesn't exist. Everything you experience doesn't exist, but because by the time you perceive it, it's over. So when you realize that that's what the true meaning of death is, then death makes life possible. Without death, there's no life.
1993 is when you become the prime minister, and that's 30 years ago. When you win, you become the person responsible for managing 30 million plus people at that time in the country. That's a lot of pressure. And I know a lot of people go through pressures in life in different stages, maybe your family, your career, your friends, whatever. How did you manage pressure?
For me, a problem is a problem. And when you have a problem, you have to find a solution. And in life, you have to make, hopefully, always the right decision. So I was calm. Apparently, when there was a crisis, I will never get excited. On the contrary, I will become calm, knowing I had to face a challenge. And I was very decisive. That was one quality that people mention of me. I could make up my mind. For me, I've been involved all my life with decisions to be made every day. Most of the prime minister hate question period. I loved it. For me to go to question period, I love it. It was a challenge. I used to make the joke. You never know if you've done well. Most of the people turn to their staff to say, was it all right? I didn't have to do that. You know what I would do? When I would get up, I would just do that. If it was dry, I had done well. And if it was wet, it's because I had problems.
So if I'm faced with a big decision in life, whether that's my job, my career, my family, what would be your advice for me to be able to handle that appropriately?
Stay calm. Stay calm. Don't make a move on the spur of the moment. For me, I never make decision in front of a meeting of people. Because if you have 10 guys around the table, some are very eloquent. That doesn't mean that they are right. So put distance between the decision and the discussion. To have an hour or two of reflection. To forget about the presentation. Some are very good at presenting things. Some are shy and not very articulate, and they might be the one who are right. I was known not to make a decision after a discussion.
What's your thought process to make a decision or not be afraid of what others think?
When you're comfortable with a decision, you make it. When I became prime minister, we were in a real fiscal mess. The big financial newspaper, one had written that Canada was a candidate for the third world status. The World Bank was looking at us to intervene. And I said to the cabinet, I might be prime minister only for one term, but I will fix the finance of the nation. And I did. But I knew that I could fail, and I might have been a prime minister for one term. But I had already been in public life for 30 years. So my ambition was to do the right thing.
What would be your secrets or advice for someone who to present themselves in society and be accepted?
Yeah, don't try to be somebody else. Try to be yourself. Be natural. You have to have good manners. Watch the way you dress too. I still to the day, I never come to the office without a tie. I'm not comfortable having shoes like you when I go in public and, but
You don't wear sneakers.
But no, I don't say you're wrong.
Right.
I say I'm comfortable with that. And don't try to transform myself to be like the gang.
And you think most people
So
tend to?
take me as I am. You like it? Fine. If you don't like it, there's nothing I can do about it.
If you could give someone watching 3 rules for a good life, what would those be?
Try to eat healthy. I think to educate yourself, even if you can't go to college, you can read some good books, spend some time in the library, and choosing a good life's work. Everybody is not fit for every profession. Get into something that you genuinely enjoy or that benefits other human beings.
My advice is just sort of how I was raised, seeing your father lose capability of their body at a young age. There's a lot of things you can't control. So if you can't control it, don't worry about it. Just worry about what you can control and take it from there.
When you're young,
that
do
part.
everything. Travel, make mistakes, go for the gusto. Nothing matters. Even if what you think you're perceiving as failure at the time, it doesn't matter. Go for all the experiences. Fear is the biggest thing that I think holds people back. Fear of rejection or looking stupid. The more you do whatever it is you're doing, maybe the more comfortable you get at it, or maybe it leads you to something else.
How do you suggest someone kind of go through life and navigate it?
I think that there is no actual way to do it. Everybody is different and everybody's path is different, and the way everybody handles things and achieves things is different. And I didn't learn that until my late 40s that I'm in now. I didn't understand that the way this person does something is not the way I have to do it to get to where I want to be. To anybody feeling lost, you're always going to feel lost at some point. It's how you deal with it is how you sort of propel yourself forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Make a point of knowing, liking, and communicating with as many people as you can.
Look after yourself. Take care of yourself. Don't abuse yourself.
Yeah. Look after yourself.
Keep your options open. And travel is a big, big way to open your mind. So make sure that whatever you do in life, you get into doing some international travel.
I love that.
Travel, expose yourself, and for God's sake, be tolerant.
I've kind of learned that I don't like to give advice because I don't actually like it when people give me advice.
Yeah.
So all I can do is really talk about what my life is and my decisions. No, I don't have any advice, but I've got a lot of experience.
I think you've got to really spend time diving into who you are as a person, being totally open and discover who you are. For me, here I am at 61, I feel I'm just really discovering who I really am. If I could go back in life and do things differently, I would definitely do them differently than the way I did, for sure. To find out who you really are, you've got to be tested. Tests show you who you really are. When you're going through rough times, it shows you who you are. Don't be afraid. I think people are afraid to try something new. When you're young, try everything.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid, because you get the fruit when you go out on a limb. So go out on a limb and try something.
A lot of people who are, let's say, older, they say when you're young, try everything. What about if you're not young?
Well, I moved to Japan only 8 years ago. So I was, in my 50s when I moved here.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't do that. I'm like, leaving all my clients that I know in the States. It was a very scary thing. But you have one life, and you have to do the things you want to do, because tomorrow's not promised. And why live this life thinking like, oh, I'm living based on my career. I want to live my life doing things that I want to do.
Treat people the way you want people to treat you. That's the only advice. It's the only thing. I don't want to hurt you. You may not love me, but it's okay. But don't hate me. I give you no reason to hate me. I give you no reason to love me, but I've not given you any reason to hate me. I'm just a person like you're a person.
Yeah. You're 103. If there's something you wish you could leave the world with, a message, a truth about life, what would that be?
One of the things about humans is that the next generation is never as good as the last one. The ones in the First World War. Horrible. Millions of men slaughtered in that war. And yet we went on, we started another one. Only 30 or 40 years later, we started another one. The effects of the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki were horrendous. As you know, we have thousands of times that power at our discretion, and somebody like Trump, for example, Putin, and that will trigger the end of life as we know it now, and with all our goals and all the things we left behind to make the future generation better.
Do you think that the world will be okay? Do you think people will be okay?
Am I optimistic? Until the last few years, I've always been optimistic about future generations. For example, your generation has a computer compounded. The next generation would have AI. I've always been optimistic about Homo sapiens being able to undo this until Trump, because I believed that honor and honesty, honor and truth were basic human attributes. But I know in the last few years, truth means nothing. It's nothing at all. But Trump's era has made me pessimistic.
Enjoy the process and not worry about the outcome. So if you ask yourself, am I enjoying what I'm doing right now? Is it making a difference? It is helping me. It is helping others. That's all that counts. Don't worry about the end point, because when you get to the end point, there'll be many other end points. So if you're not enjoying the journey, if you're not enjoying what's happening right now, when you get to where you want to get, you won't enjoy that either.
I totally understand that. I think there's focusing on being successful, there's focusing on being happy. I don't think they're the same. You got to put effort in both.
Happiness is the most natural state of our being. You don't have to put any effort into it. Stop looking for validation and you'll be happy.